Traveling through the world of the love series Hori and Miyamura, he became the only male character in the entire series who had no girlfriend. Yuki Inoura. Now Jingpu Xiu is unbalanced. Why is he single in a love comedy for all? So Jingpu Xiu set a small goal for herself. While striving to achieve financial freedom, she first wanted to find a girlfriend for herself before graduating from high school and enjoy the sweet campus romance. However, as he became more familiar with the world, he suddenly realized that it seemed to be not just a world of Hori and Miyamura. One by one, anime characters appeared one after another, making Jingpu Xiu's eyes shine. I've decided. My girlfriend is you now. Keywords of the novel. All-member romantic comedy, Why I Am Single without pop-ups, all-member romantic comedy, Why I Am Single. Download the complete text of all-member romantic comedy, Why I Am Single. The latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Green Hair Husky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Green Hair Husky. Oni sauce. Wow, in some years, the wooden door of the husher was forcefully pulled open from the outside, making a huge noise. Immediately after, a young girl with green short hair and a delicate face, dressed in a red and white sailor-style junior high school uniform and white stockings, appeared at the door. With a stern face, she fiercely shouted at Inoura Xiu, who was still in a large font on the bed, "When are you going to sleep? Get up and have breakfast quickly. Otherwise, you will be late." As a high school student, I actually got up later than her junior high school student. Is this really acceptable? Oh, after a brief moment of silence, from the somewhat messy single bed in the room, there came the faint and powerless voice of Jingpu Xiu. This couldn't help but leave Kiko Inoura stunned for a moment. In her impression, it seems that her older brother, who is known as a humanoid husky, has never been so lethargic, right? Even if it's because of a broken arm while practicing kendo, or if you have a serious cold, you can still play with her with an infectious and energetic smile. What's wrong with you? After hesitating for a moment, Kiko Inoura walked into the room with a concerned expression on her face. Although the fact that the boy she liked was immediately bent upon seeing the handsome sword-wielding posture of Hideyoshi Inoura made her wish to sever ties with her own brother. But after all, he's his own Oni sauce, right? To be fair, besides bending the guy she likes, often pulling her along, listening to some light music she doesn't like, and always mocking her as a fool, her own brother seems quite good, right? Hey, what's wrong with you? Are you sick? Kiko Inoura came to the bedside and knelt down, with one hand propped up on the bed and the other hand touching Inoura Hideyo's forehead. Due to her petite figure, she was almost completely lying on top of Jingpu Xiu. No, I'm not sick, I'm just depressed. Knowing that she could no longer rely on her bed, Inoura Hideyoshi could only block Kiko's hand while flipping over and sitting up with her face down. However, his appearance made Kiko Inoura even more peculiar. How could her even more energetic Oni sauce have moments of depression? This is really unbelievable. What happened? Kiko Inoura immediately forgot about whether he would be late if he continued to delay, and stared at Hideo Inoura with big, curious eyes. Unfortunately, Jingpu Xiu did not tell her of her plans. After all, the fact that he was a traveler is too unbelievable. What if it were to leak out and be captured for slicing and research? If he remembers correctly. Jeezy, this little girl, seems to be a less intelligent Yazzie. With a sudden cold arrow, Jingpu Xiu vigorously reached out and rubbed her hair, making a mess of her originally good hairstyle. Then, under her cold and murderous gaze, she quickly grabbed the clothes at the bedside and ran out of the room with a thump. Ah. Damn Oni sauce. Stop me. I'm so worried about you. Thinking he had been tricked, Jeezy stood up fiercely and chased after him with a murderous aura. 10 minutes later, Hideyoshi Inoura, holding a sandwich and carrying a backpack, quickly ran out of this Japanese-style mansion, which covers an area of over 500 square meters. In April, the wind is gentle and the sun is warm. The cheerful melody of the piano seemed to come from my ears. You can clearly smell the sweet and pleasant scent in the air. The warm morning sunshine gently touches my cheeks, like a gentle girl whispering in her ear, which is most delightful. On both sides of the road, countless cherry blossom petals dance in the spring breeze. The pale pink petals churned in the air, like living spirits dancing gracefully. This is a beautiful scenery that can only be possessed by the anime world. But looking at such a scenery, Jingpu Xiu couldn't help but play with her green hair and let out a faint sigh. He is indeed very happy to be able to travel to the romantic comedy world of Hori and Miyamura. After all, he still prefers this peaceful and stable world compared to those who fight and kill. But there are so many supporting role of the leading role to choose from. Why do we have to let him pass through the guy Igura Shio? You should know that in this world of all romantic comedy where lovers eventually get married, Inoue Hideyoshi is the only one. Until the end, everyone graduated from high school and there was no unlucky girlfriend. Not to mention anything else, just this green hair is making him unable to bear it, okay? Cheek Shio. It's okay if you don't have a childhood sweetheart. It's really sad that you never have a girlfriend in the end. No way. It's okay to be single in a previous life. Now we have finally come to a clean and pure anime world. How can we not have love and girlfriend? I've decided. While achieving financial freedom as soon as possible, I must have a sweet campus romance before graduating from high school. I can't just let Miyamura and Ishikawa force me with dog food. However, who should I turn to? Jingpu Xiu lowered her head and pondered on this very important issue as she walked. Although girls in the anime world, especially female high school students, except for very few others, are basically all online, with only the difference between good-looking and better-looking. But if possible, he certainly hopes to find a better-looking one, doesn't he? One by one, exquisite and fashionable, sweet and lovely, or gentle and intellectual figures swiftly flashed through his mind, and suddenly, Jingpu Xiu's mouth let out a voice of surprise. How could there be her? Is it a duplicate name? Or Pop? Just as Jingpu Xiu was feeling a little uncertain, he suddenly received a heavy pat on his shoulder, causing him to tilt and jump. Good morning, Xiu. What are you thinking? I just called you a few times but didn't respond. The familiar voice made Jingpu Xiu know who the newcomer was without looking back. Turning her head and looking down, a cute girl with short golden brown hair was looking at him with curious eyes. The raised arms are still remembered and retracted, and there is a loose knit sweater on the outside of the school uniform, as well as the long sleeves, making her body look particularly petite. Yoshikawa Yuki, the best friend of Hori and Miyamura world's female protagonist Hori Kyoko, is a lively, friendly, and somewhat carefree lovely girl. I can get along well with everyone and am very likable. However, she is very sensitive and delicate in her heart, just like most neon girls, because she cares about other people's feelings and caters to them. She cannot openly express her feelings. Apart from having a slightly inferior appearance compared to Hariko, she is a girl who is more suitable as a girlfriend in the eyes of Inoura Shio. It's just a pity, at this point, she should have already fallen in love with Tokugawa Ishikawa, right? It's only because Tokugawa is pursuing Hariko that she has been hiding her feelings. Jingpu Xiu suddenly felt a little depressed. If he didn't know the plot, perhaps he could still boldly pursue Yoshikawa Yuki, even if he failed. But now that I know the plot and the cute girl in front of me, I will eventually achieve success with the person I like. As a pure love warrior, how could he take action? Hello, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your strange eyes? The mixed thoughts were interrupted by Yoshikawa Yuki's voice. Jingpu Xiu shook her head vigorously in her heart, deliberately teasing with a mischievous smile, "It's nothing, I'm just thinking, shouldn't this knitted sweater be stolen from your sister?" Yoshikawa Yuki has a senior sister who is not only very beautiful, but also has a very good figure. She is a standard intellectual elder sister. Compared to Yoshikawa Yuki, who is petite and average in stature, his height alone is more than half a head taller. Disgusting. Yoshikawa Yuki's eyes widened in an instant, and his arm, which had just fallen, was lifted up again. He angrily shot towards Inoura Hideyoshi. But this time, Yuki Inoura is already prepared. How could she possibly hit her again? With a twist of her body, Jingpu Xiu easily dodged her attack and turned to run forward. It's just that Yoshikawa Yuki wouldn't just let him go like this and immediately chased after him. Damn it! Don't run. The two of them fought and frolicked all the way, until Hideyoshi Inoura saw that she was already exhausted and panting heavily. She deliberately hit her, which made her stop contentedly. No, let me take a break. Yoshikawa put his hands on his knees and tilted his head, unable to resist roast. Are you too physically strong, right? I can't help it, Jingpu shrugged. My old man has been forcing me to practice swordsmanship since I was young, but it's you who seems to have a deep resentment towards your sister. No way. Yoshikawa Yuki turned his head and denied it. How could she have any resentment or dissatisfaction towards her sister who is so kind to her? She just feels a bit insecure about her extremely poor physique. After all, it's really peaceful. A thin and small one, as if undeveloped. After shrinking, my sister wore a small knitted sweater that looked like a coat on her. Although I am already in my sophomore year of high school and will be able to graduate and get married in just 1 year, my development is not as good as many middle school students, which is really frustrating. Of course, Inoue did not know that he had just hit Yoshikawa's pain point. After all, for boys who like anime, being flat is not a big deal, right? Seeing Yoshikawa Yuki seem a bit angry again, he felt a bit at a loss for a moment and could only awkwardly prepare to change the topic. Fortunately, Tokugawa Ishikawa happened to see them at this moment and walked over. Hi, Shio, Yoshikawa, good morning. Upon hearing the sound of Ishikawa's voice, Yoshikawa Yuki immediately stood up straight and gave Hideyoshi Inoura a sideways glance in frustration. It's all this guy's fault for causing me to lose any image. Jingpu Xiu understood her gaze and couldn't help but widen her eyes innocently. Is this also my fault? Humph. It's your fault. Yoshikawa Yuki let out a cold groan of displeasure in his heart. Although she is usually lively, she is also very well behaved and ladylike. Only when joking with the humanoid era like Jingpu Xiu, will the car always fail to stop. Now that Ishikawa too has seen it, it is estimated that her score in Ishikawa 2's heart will decrease again, right? At the thought of this, even if Yoshikawa Yuki knew that Ishikawa Toshio liked his best friend Hariko and didn't like her at all, his heart couldn't help but feel gloomy. On the other hand, Hideki Inoura doesn't have as many worries and feelings as she does. Good morning. You're such a good student. How could you even come so late? It's really strange. Jingpu Xiu greeted Ishikawa Toshio with a smile. Since elementary school, the two have been classmates and close friends, so they naturally speak more casually. Moreover, despite Ishikawa Toshio's robust physique and somewhat fierce appearance, which may seem a bit unpleasant when not smiling, he is actually a very simple, straightforward, and easy to get along with person. His personality is very easygoing, and he is very friendly and gentle towards everyone. In addition, his academic performance is also very good, so his popularity in school is actually quite good. Last night when I went to the supermarket, I drew a few KTV coupons, so I thought about inviting Jingzi and everyone to sing together, but I accidentally fell asleep a bit late. Ishikawa Toshio scratched his head in frustration, but still candidly revealed the reason for his late start. This is actually not surprising. Jingpu Xiu is his best friend, let alone his love for Horikoko, which is already well known throughout the school, so there is naturally nothing to hide. As for Yoshikawa Yuki, he also wants Yoshikawa Yuki to help persuade Hariko, this idiot. He's so slow that he's hopeless. Hideyoshi Inoura couldn't help but want to cover her face. However, when he thought that even such a slow-hearted and unattractive guy would be loved by a lovely girl like Yuki Yoshikawa, and eventually achieve success, he couldn't help but feel a wave of frustration. Don't you think it is necessary to be insensitive to become the hero of this kind of anime love and to be liked by girls? Jingpu Xiu then thought of Ichiro Miyamura. As the male protagonist, Ichiro Miyamura is also as slow in love as Toshikawa Ishikawa, but she is liked by the female protagonist Kyoko Hori. The two have long since achieved success. This is also too enviable and unbalanced. How about I also pretend to be emotionally sluggish? Jingpu Xiu glanced at Ishikawa Toshio with a silly expression before her, and then decisively dismissed the idea. Let's forget it, he really can't do such a thing as pretending to be silly. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that Yoji Yoshikawa's eyes had obviously dimmed after listening to him. He could only make a mad roast in his heart while abruptly changing the topic. Even if you invite Hori, she probably won't agree, after all, she rarely participates in such activities, right? Let's hurry up and leave. If we delay any longer, we'll really be late. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Cautiously Exploring. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Cautiously Exploring. Hey. What are you running for? Wait for us. Idiot, youth needs to run recklessly. Do you understand? Who said that again? The lyrics say, I knew it. The three of them ran to the shoe cabinet where they changed their shoes in one breath. When they stopped, even the physically strong Tokugawa Ishikawa was already panting. Only Jingpu Xiu herself remained calm and breathless, as if nothing had happened. You really should live in Siberia. Yoshikawa could not help roast. At the beginning, the three were all in the same class, but when the last exam was redivided, Yuki Yoshikawa separated from them. Now Yoshikawa Yuki and Hariko are in the same class, with the male protagonist Ichiro Miyamura in the class. And Tokugawa Ishikawa was in the same class as him, with student council president Shinichiro and student council member Sakura Kono in the class. Good morning, Xianshi, hi. Good morning, Ishikawa, Jingpu. At the back door of the classroom, Jingpu Xiu and Ishikawa too, who were running all the way, happened to bump into Xianshi Xiang and Kono Sakura, who were walking while holding documents and discussing something. Xianshi Xiang, with a head of red hair and a tall and thin figure, remained the same, looking cold and aloof all day long. Jingpu Xiu just glanced at him and then looked at Kawano Sakura beside him. Good morning, Jingpu Jun, an Ishikawa classmate. Their eyes met. Kawano Sakura's lips couldn't help but slightly curl up, revealing a shallow smile. This is a girl with green hair, gentle and intellectual, skilled in cooking and taking care of people. Although her appearance may not be inferior to that of a beautiful woman like Hariko, she is not inferior to Yoshikawa Yuki. At first glance, the figure may seem ordinary, but in reality, it is quite substantial. The size should be at least 35 cm. Unfortunately, her serious personality makes her look a bit dull. In addition, with her status as a member of the student union and a top student, people always feel like they are facing their elders when facing her, so not to mention her boyfriend, she doesn't even have many friends. More precisely, at this point in time, apart from Zion Shixiang, the president of the student union, and Zion Shixiang's girlfriend, Reimei Ayazaki, she was the only friend with a good relationship, Hideo Inoura. After all, as long as Huskies are not kept in their own homes, who wouldn't like them? Jingpu Xiu is known as a humanoid husky, although he doesn't have any girlfriends, he has many friends. After the division of classes, Sakura Kono sat in the seat on his right side and was captured by his energetic husky power on the first day. By the way, at this time, Sakura Kawano probably hasn't fallen in love with Toshikawa Ishikawa yet, has she? Hori and Miyamura is a romantic comedy series for all members, in which the characters with slightly more roles are basically paired up, and in the end, the lovers eventually get married. He was the only one among the boys who remained single until high school graduation. Among the girls, there were only those who also fell in love with Tokugawa Ishikawa, but lost to Yuki Yoshikawa's Sakura Kono. By the way, what was the reason why Sakura Kono fell in love with this guy, Toshio Ishikawa? Just sitting in her seat, Jingpu Xiu pulled out the textbook for the first class and tried to recall it. As her gaze remained fixed on Kawano Sakura, she quickly caught her attention. "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" "No, it's just that I found out, you're actually very beautiful, Kono." Kawano Sakura's pretty face turned red in an instant, and she looked at Miura Hideyoshi with embarrassment. Then she quickly turned her head and stopped looking at him. In fact, with their good relationship, it is not impolite to say such things. Just like, if Inoura Shio had said this to Yoshikawa Yuki, Yoshikawa Yuki would have smirked and punched him, then turned around and questioned him, only to find out. Of course, this is in the absence of Tokugawa Ishikawa. Just because of her personality, this is the first time that Sakura Kono has heard someone praise her so much. Kawano Sakura pretended to be calm and tidy up her backpack, but suddenly a strange emotion surged in her heart. At the same time, in a classroom, Yuki Yoshikawa hesitated for a moment after putting down his backpack, and then ran to find Hariko with a smile. "Good morning, Jingzi." "Early, by G. Hey, could you lend me a copy of yesterday's English homework?" "Haha. Did you forget to do your homework again? There's really nothing I can do about you." "Hehe, I watched the comic too late last night." Watching Hariko helplessly take out her homework, Yoshikawa Yuki couldn't help but put his hands together and made a funny face at her with a smile. "By the way, Jingzi, some friends from other schools are asking me for your email address. It looks quite handsome, what should I do? Do you want to tell him?" Hori Jingzi said calmly, since he didn't ask himself, he has been out of the game. "Can you help me refuse?" "Hey. It's like this again." Yoshikawa Yuki spoke, but couldn't help feeling secretly happy in his heart. "What about Ishikawa? He drew a limited time coupon for KTV and wants to invite everyone to sing at KTV. Are you coming?" This time, Hariko clearly hesitated for a moment, which made Yoshikawa Yuki unconsciously nervous in his heart. However, in the end, Hariko sighed silently in her heart and said, "Forget it, you know I'm not interested in these activities." Saying so, Hariko couldn't help but take out a CD and put on her headphones to listen. Although her biggest hobby is watching horror movies, listening to music and singing is also one of her hobbies. If possible, of course she would like to go to KTV with everyone. But everyone has their own secrets. Her parents are very busy with work and often don't go home for 10.5 days, so her younger brother who is still in kindergarten can only be picked up and taken care of by her, and even all household chores have to be taken care of by her alone. So she doesn't have time to go to KTV with everyone after school. However, she didn't want everyone to know that she, who was glamorous and popular among boys in school, had actually become a housewife early on and needed to go shopping with many obeisants for discounted vegetables and eggs in supermarkets, so she pretended not to be interested in these activities. Even though Yuki Yoshikawa was her best friend, she didn't reveal a single word about this. So after being smashed by Ichiro Miyamura, she finally had an existence to share secrets with, which was why she held a very different position in her heart. Yoshikawa Yuki was unaware of these things and breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing Hariko's refusal. He then changed the topic with a smile. "What are you listening to?" "Jingpu Jun recommended it to me. It seems to be a band called Sick Hack. It seems to come from this name. Okay, I'll guess it's that guy's CD again. That guy is really a soft music maniac. I still have more than a dozen CDs he lent me here. Indeed, probably half of us in our grade have borrowed his CD, haven't we? I feel like all his collections can be used to open a video store, . Ah, cut. Who is nagging behind the scenes, thinking about me behind the scenes? Jingpu Xiu rubbed her nose and continued to copy her homework. Sakura Hano, who was beside her, just heard his murmur and immediately turned her head, pursed her lips and chuckled, feeling a chill in her heart. Seeking recommendations, collecting, and following up on reading, please be great. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Social Death. Impossible. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Social Death. Impossible. Like a floating cloud, this body has nothing to wait for, as if it has been entrusted to the heart of the wind. The blue sky outside the window is so clear that it seems like you can see the end of the universe, with white clouds like cotton candy dotted among them. The gentle wind blew the curtains and brushed against her cheeks, carrying the scent of cherry blossoms that only belong to spring, making Hideyoshi Inoura unable to resist yawning. There's no way, who wants their first class to be Mandarin class? This rhythmic harmonies, coupled with this spring season, have an incredibly hypnotic effect. Moreover, he is no longer preparing to take the college entrance exam. Among the many roles played by Hori and Miyamura, his performance is considered quite good. Although not as good as Zion Shixiang, Kono Sakura, and Horikoko, they can still rank in the top 50 out of over 300 students in the entire grade. Although this score is a bit uncertain for Shanghai University of Science and Technology, it is still not a problem to get into an average university. After all, their high school is also considered a high school with a relatively high admission rate. However, as a traveler, even if he doesn't awaken any systematic golden fingers, he can still rely on the classic comics, songs, and light novels from his past life memories to mix well. Why waste time and money going to college again? Neon universities are not like those in China, where academic workload is usually heavy. At this moment, he was very fortunate to have traveled to Inoue Hideo, because Inoue Hideo was not only very skilled in sports, but also a passionate light music enthusiast with various talents comparable to professional singers and composers. The most direct thing is, playing guitar, bass, drums, arranging keyboards, all of which are sneaky. He also particularly enjoys collecting CDs. In the original plot, when everyone was packing up after graduation, there were only 30 to 40 CDs that he had lent to Ichiro Miyamura and Toshio Ishikawa before returning them. It can be imagined how much his collection was. The pocket money given by the family, which is 100,000 yen per month, as well as the income earned from working at a convenience store after school, is basically spent on buying CDs. With such built-in skills, writing songs or something is not a matter of minutes. Unfortunately, the majority of the anime songs he is familiar with are sung by female singers, with only 20.30 songs by male singers such as Akashi Mizu and Yojiro Noda. Considering the distribution ratio, it is estimated that wealth freedom cannot be fully realized, so besides writing songs, he also plans to draw comics and write light novels. It is worth mentioning that in the contempt chain of Neon, the status of light novel writers and cartoonists is higher than that of singers of the same level. They usually earn more. Just like the author of Blade of Ghost Annihilation, Wuhu Shiqing, who earned $200 million a year with this work, his ability to attract money clearly far exceeds that of top-tier singers. So in order to truly achieve financial freedom, comics and light novels are undoubtedly essential ways. Next, stop spending on CDs and use the money to enroll in a comic training class. As for light novels, give it a try first. If it doesn't work, then give up temporarily and focus on singing and comics. Jingpu Xiu, who had made up her mind, looked up at the Mandarin teacher on the podium who was still focused on teaching. She quickly took out a new notebook from her backpack and began trying to write a novel. Many things are easy to remember but difficult to do, especially when it comes to writing novels. Even if you think well in your mind, you may not be able to say a word for a long time when you start writing. During her previous life at university, Inoue Hideyoshi attempted to write novels online, and naturally understood this. However, he had the intention of trying, so after a brief consideration, he did not choose a relatively easy-to-write light novel. Instead, he decided to adapt April Is Your Lie, which is known as the perfect essay for April, into a light novel and move it to this world. Prepared to challenge the highest difficulty from the beginning. Achievements continue. If you lose, switch to the track at the speed of light. Preface: the slightly red sunset gently falls under the blooming cherry blossom tree. The gentle breeze blows, and I can't help but close my eyes. When I open them again, you quietly appear under the cherry blossom tree, so dazzling. Chapter 1, Dim and Dim, What's Wrong? That horse actually stopped playing. In that case, all the achievements he has made so far will be in vain. The solemn auditorium, dazzling lights, stealing whispers, everything twisted in the heavy notes of the cold piano's rumbling sound, eventually turning into a deep, dark vortex that engulfed him. Ah! Ma Gongxing suddenly woke up, and everything around him regained its brightness. The piano classroom is still the one where he is the only one, and the lively cries of the football department can be heard clearly from the playground outside the window. Among them, he received the loudest cheers from the head coach of the football department, Takashi Watanabe, who gave him a small haircut. So I just fell asleep. Ma Gongxing grabbed his messy hair, looked at the half-written sheet music on the table in front of him, put on his glasses again, picked up a pencil, and put on his headphones. Just before he could press the play button on his phone again, a familiar and anxious voice suddenly rang out the window. Ah! It flew over. Xiaochun. Did this guy cause trouble again? Ma Gongxing instinctively turned his head to look in the direction of the sound coming from outside the window. Although I didn't see the figure of his childhood sweetheart Zibu Chun, I could clearly see a high-speed spinning baseball, drawing a beautiful arc and flying towards him with precision. Bang! Bang! Duong! Jingpu Xiu wrote the image that came to her mind into words, and couldn't help but add sound to the image. A smile unconsciously appeared at the corner of her mouth. However, the next second, the notebook in front of him suddenly darkened, as if something was blocking the sunlight. The experience of being caught reading comics countless times in his past life and being caught listening to CDs countless times in his current life merged, instantly making his neck feel cold and realizing something was wrong. Subconsciously, she reached out to cover her notebook, and Jingpu Xiu raised her head somewhat stiffly. Sure enough, I saw Yuri Nishitaru, who was still on the podium, appearing in front of him at some point, staring at him with a serious expression on his face. Well, at that moment, he suddenly realized that when Kawano Sakura doesn't smile normally, she does have a similar temperament as the teacher in front of her, Teresa Tomoyama. No, now is not the time to think about these things. Jingpu Xiu quickly showed a pleasing smile, blinking her eyes innocently. At normal room temperature, Husky stared. JPG, and took the initiative to say, well, teacher, if I say I'm taking notes, do you believe me? Is that so? Yuli, the second cousin, helped his glasses and suddenly showed a playful smile at the corner of his mouth. So, Jingpu, let's recite the notes you took and share them with everyone. Jingpu Xiu is dumbfounded. Don't believe it, should we just confiscate his laptop? What's going on when he reads notes? Do you want him to die in society? This is too vicious. Think beautifully. After gazing at each other for 3 seconds, Jingpu Xiu let out a cold snort in her heart and stood up from her seat, rubbing against. Just read it, no one is afraid of anyone. There's a saying that goes, as long as I'm not embarrassed, it's someone else who's embarrassed, isn't it? He wrote an essay with a perfect score in April, not a little yellow text. What's so scary about it? Cough. Jingpu Xiu picked up her notebook and deliberately cleared her throat. Then, under the teasing gaze of the crowd around her, she read the novel she had just written with both voice and emotion. Then in just a few seconds, someone couldn't help but show a surprised expression. Even the second-tier Tang Yuli, who had originally intended to take this opportunity to punish him well, couldn't help but freeze until he finished reading for several seconds before he regained his senses. And the first sentence that came to my senses was, "It's gone. It's gone." Jingpu Xiu said and handed the notebook forward, showing a generous expression of sacrifice. However, Jia Tang Yuli only glanced at him and did not confiscate his notebook. Instead, he patted his shoulder. On his face, which usually appears somewhat cold and rigid due to his lack of restraint in speaking and laughing, there is actually a sincere smile. The writing is quite good. If it can really be published, remember to give the teacher a set as well. However, it's best to write in a quiet environment without being disturbed, so don't write during class next time. Jingpu Xiu stared at the Tanjayuli in front of her, and then realized that this is not a previous life, but an anime world with the theme of sweet love comedy. The bell for the end of class rang just at this moment. Jingpu Xiu regained her senses and breathed a sigh of relief. Then, with great courage, she chuckled and said, "Good teacher, I know, but I'm afraid I can't help but think of good plots." Jia Tang Yuli angrily threw him a death gaze, but the words he said warmed his heart. "If the following parts can maintain this level, my class will be accurate, thank you, teacher." I don't know if it's a habit inherent in my body or something, but Jingpu Xiu, who has never bowed before in his past life, couldn't help but bow at a 45-degree angle. Jia Tang remained calm, but in his heart, he smiled and didn't say much. He turned back to the podium, packed his textbooks and lesson plans, and left the classroom. As the teacher left, just as she sat back in her seat, Inoura Hideyoshi was suddenly surrounded by a large group of people. "Wow! Jingpu, I can't tell. Besides writing songs, you can even write novels." "Yeah, yes, and it's amazing to even receive praise from that old witch in the second stage hall. By the way, what's the name of this novel? Are you really planning to submit it for publication? If it can really be published, remember to sign and send me a copy. An expression of helplessness flashed in Jingpu Xiu's eyes, and she could only muster up her energy to cope. "There's nothing we can do, who makes his humanoid husky so popular? Half of the grade is his friend, this is really not bragging. Jingpu Jun is really popular." Sakura Kono, who was pushed into the corner by the crowd, saw this scene and felt inexplicably disappointed while feeling happy for Hideo Inoura. Kawano Sakura, don't daydream anymore. How could anyone like a girl like you who is old-fashioned, gloomy, not cute at all, and not beautiful at all? Kawano Sakura silently murmured to herself, withdrew her gaze, lowered her head, and carefully organized the notes that the teacher had just given. Jingpu Jun was already writing novels in class just now, so he probably didn't take any notes, did he? Seeking recommendations, collecting, and following up. We are about to sign a contract, so hurry up and invest if you want some coins. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Notes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Notes. Hey, what are you all doing around there? Hurry up and get back to your seat, class is about to begin. The girl who returns to her seat the fastest can get a chance to take an intimate photo with the teacher. The familiar, seemingly lethargic voice, and the usual rhetoric between harassment and narcissism. Everyone, including Hideo Inoura, doesn't need to look back to know it's Shin Yasuda. Yes, teacher. Unexpectedly, the girls rubbed around one by one until a boy was the first to return to his seat, and then quickly returned to his seat with a giggle. There's no way, although she has long dark red hair and likes to tie it up in a very artistic ponytail. She has a tall figure and exquisite dressing, and her appearance is not bad. But his narcissistic and stinky face is really unbearable for few girls. Of course, everyone knows that Yasuda really just likes to joke in this way and won't really act on girls. In addition, the professor's English classes are much more lively and interesting than other English teachers, so he is still quite popular among all the teachers. Quickly, as the class bell rang, Shin Yasuda, who had already arrived at the podium, casually put down his lesson plan and chatted with everyone in English about the comics and magazines he had read yesterday. That's right, this way of speaking is simple, but who else would do it? Yuki Inoura held her chin in one hand and turned her pen in the other. Her gaze seemed to be serious as she looked at Yasuda on the podium, but in fact, she had long been fascinated by the plot of April Is Your Lie. Green hair, like willow branches, hangs before my eyes, brushing over my eyebrows and causing some itching. Go dye your hair after school. This green hair looks really ugly. No, I have to work after school. Speaking of which, it's been over a year now. I haven't even read comics and novels in this guy Yasuda's class, nor have I eavesdropped on CDs. No, as a compassionate person, how can I favor one over the other? A pencil that rotates its fingertips back and forth. Inoura Xiu frowned and finally focused her gaze on Shin Yasuda. After confirming her gaze, Yasuda was not looking towards him. So he quickly tore off a corner from his notebook and started writing with brush and brush. Then, while Anda turned around and dismantled a new grammar on the blackboard, he quickly crumpled it into a ball of paper and threw it to Sakura Kono. Kono, if that guy Anda wants to trouble me, remember to remind me in advance, please. Kawano Sakura, who was originally taking notes seriously, was startled when she saw a small ball of paper suddenly falling in front of her. Subconsciously turning her head to look in the direction of the paper ball flying towards her, she saw Jingpu Xiu with her hands clasped together and secretly winking at her. Her gaze instantly softened. Didn't you already read it to everyone once? Kawano Sakura unfolded the paper ball and upon seeing the content on it, she couldn't help but joke with Inoura Hideo. Please, it's okay to read it in Mandarin. If that guy Anda finds out and uses his bad taste, he will definitely make me read it in English. It's better to kill me. That's right, it was precisely because he foresaw this that he had to seek help from Sakura Kono. Otherwise, wouldn't he be afraid of dying in society again, even though he has already died once? Many novel authors are actually reluctant to mention their novels to those around them, especially when reading them in front of others, they feel even more ashamed. But he is different. Perhaps due to transportation, when he read April earlier, he felt a sense of pleasure in offering his favorite light novel to others. So, as long as he doesn't use English, he actually doesn't mind trying to please everyone again. Kawano Sakura couldn't help but smirk as she looked at the content on the note, and then made an okay gesture to Inoura Hideyoshi. Upon seeing this, Yuki Inoura immediately took out her notebook, and the images in her mind unfolded once again. The tip of the pen fell, and the sweet scent of cherry blossoms, as well as the faint noise from the distant playground, accompanied by the lively notes of the piano, all came back in an instant. Ah! Another trouble. Stupid little Chun. Don't hit so high. I seem to have heard something unusual. Ah, where are you going, Xiaochun? The direction of the ball is over there. Don't run. Get her. Stupid little Chun, go and pick up the ball. Under the pursuit and interception of a large group of people, Zebu Chun, who had originally planned to leave, could only look bitter and turn back step by step towards the nearby teaching building. The teaching building is quiet after school. Zebu Chun poked his head and walked past every classroom door leaning towards the playground. Finally, he found broken and fallen glass by the window in the music room. There is also the messy sheet music in front of the piano, as well as the familiar figure falling on the sheet music. A blood-stained baseball, along with its old-fashioned black-framed glasses, landed not far from that figure. Ah! Dead. Zebu Chun rushed over with a swoosh, picked up the baseball, hid it behind him, instinctively tiptoed and prepared to escape. But just then, the unlucky Ma Gongsheng, who had been knocked unconscious by the baseball falling from the sky, was convulsing and sat up from the floor. 4 eyes facing each other. Ah ha! Xiaochun. Why did you come to the music studio? Ma Gongsheng rubbed his head and felt a bit confused. Seeing this, Jingpu Xiu actually relaxed on his side. What, it turns out to be a male student. Fortunately, it's not anyone else. Jingpu Xiu threw the baseball in his hand and said with a smile. At this moment, Ma Gongsheng also looked at the ups and downs of the baseball, finally recalling what had just happened. He quickly turned his head to look in the direction of the window. Ah! The glass is broken. It's you again. Xiaochun. I just fixed the window you broke a few days ago. Can't you just hold back your strength? How could I possibly accommodate it? Faced with Ma Gongsheng's dissatisfaction, Jingpu Xiu also put on a fierce posture and casually picked up the vertical flute pulled down by someone on the nearby table, making a handsome swing. This is the last spring of my junior high school career. I must become the treble champion. If it were a different person at this moment, perhaps they would be infected by the confident and energetic figure of Jingpu Xiu, and their blood would boil. But Ma Gongsheng just silently turned around and walked towards the fallen glass. His silent and dark figure seemed to be in two completely opposite worlds to her. Ah! I have to apologize again and fill out the item damage form. Forget it, let's put away these broken glass pieces first. Then I'll go get the dustpan. Jingpu Xiu's eyes darkened, then he regained his energy and ran towards the broom and dustpan placed in the corner of the classroom with a smile. However, it seems that Mr. Ma did not hear it and has reached out to pick up the broken glass on the ground. Wait. Fingers. Jingpu Xiu's face changed, and he instinctively exclaimed in surprise. At the same time, he rushed over at a speed similar to that of a barricade and grabbed his arm. Really? Don't you know it's very dangerous? What if your finger is scratched? Jingpu Xiu angrily blamed him. Hands, but the most precious thing for a pianist. But she forgot that Ma Gongsheng no longer plays the piano. What does that matter? A calm and emotionless voice, revealed from Mr. Ma's mouth, along with his dim and lifeless eyes, deeply stabbed Jingpu Xiu's heart and made him unsure of what to say for a moment. The air also seemed to become silent and dark. The April sunshine illuminated every corner of the music room, but did not shine on Mr. Ma's heart. Am I still unable to save you, Gongsheng? Jingpu Xiu murmured to himself, his nose suddenly becoming slightly sour, and there seemed to be a stream of heat in his eyes, uncontrollably rushing out. Fortunately, just then, a click sound of the shutter being pressed suddenly sounded outside the broken window. A handsome and sunny boy with a head of orange hair, wearing a sweaty and dirty football jersey, just a glance reveals that he is also at the pinnacle of the current charging genre. He appeared outside the broken window at some point, facing the two people in the music room, pressing the "Take a Photo" button on his phone. TSK, as both a neighbor and childhood sweetheart, a couple of Mandarin ducks who always play with each other. The almost frozen air became flowing again due to this sudden joke. Originally holding onto the arm of Ma Gongsheng, Jingpu Xiu suddenly felt as if he had been electrocuted. He released his hand and his wheat-colored cheeks were instantly coated with two shy red hues. Not a couple. The same response came from the two embarrassed people. But their thoughts are completely different. Ah-ha. They don't like each other, do they? Seeking recommendation, seeking collection, seeking monthly tickets, seeking follow-up reading, seeking investment, cheerleading, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. Unavailable assists. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Unavailable assists. The sudden sound in her ear startled Jingpu Xiu, whose aunt was smiling all over her face. Looking up, Yasuda had long disappeared from the podium, and most of the seats in the classroom were already empty. Next door, Toshio Ishikawa was tidying up his backpack. Beside him, Sakura Kono was holding her newly organized English notes in her arms, looking at him apologetically. Sorry to bother you, but next class is chemistry class. If we don't hurry up, we might be late. Ah. I forgot. The dissatisfaction that was already just a throwaway dissipated in an instant. Jingpu Xiu quickly closed her notebook, hesitated for a moment, and then stuffed it back into her backpack, quickly flipping through the chemistry textbook. There's no way, the chemistry class needs to be moved to a chemistry classroom filled with experimental equipment. That place doesn't seem like a place for him to write novels with peace of mind. This is the note from the English class just now, said Yasuda. There will be an in-class exam next class, and I think you should be able to use it. Kawano Sakura took a deep breath and handed the notebook she was holding in her arms to Inoura Hideo. Since entering second grade and being assigned to a class, Hideyoshi Inoura has borrowed notes from her, but this time, bang. Bang. Perhaps it was because she took the initiative to lend it out that she suddenly heard her heartbeat. Surprisingly, there is still an in-class exam. That guy Anda is very cunning. Fortunately, there is you, Kono. While roast about Yasuda-jun, Inoue took the notes gratefully, showing the signature has Chi's smiling face. In the refreshing April sunshine shining outside the window, it looks particularly friendly. My heartbeat quickened uncontrollably. By the way, Kawano Sakura couldn't help but dodge his gaze and picked up the textbook that was already prepared on the table. She asked curiously in a soft voice, wasn't Zebu-chan and Yuma Gongshing liking each other? Well, early spoilers are boring, so it's better for you to wait until you see the rest and you'll know. Let's go, too. Inoura Xiu chuckled and picked up her textbook, turning her head to shout at Ishikawa too. Please, if it weren't for waiting for you, I would have left a long time ago, okay? Ishikawa caught up with him in 2 or 3 steps, and then couldn't help but whisper, do you think Hori would agree? Although he didn't write novels as openly in class as Jingpu Xiu did, he just lost his focus in English class. Even when the class bell rang and everyone left the classroom happily, ready to go to the next class, he was still struggling. Don't dream, Hori won't agree to you, just die this heart. Jingpu Xiu really wanted to tell him so directly, but glanced at his tense and expectant expression. Jingpu Xiu sighed helplessly and dispelled the idea. Fool, if you really want to invite Mr. Hori, just go and say it yourself. Don't you know that no one who asks others to ask for his phone number has succeeded? Upon hearing this, Tokugawa Ishikawa immediately showed a surprised expression. To be honest, at this moment, he looks much more like Husky than Inoura Hideyoshi. How did you know? Why didn't I know? Fool, because in first grade, I was the person who was often asked to go find Hori. Yoshikawa Yuki, too, Inoura Xiu silently added in her heart. Then during his lunch break, he intended to continue writing novels and strive to submit them to the publishing house as soon as possible. However, he was pulled by this guy, Toshio Ishikawa, and as a reward, he went to a classroom to find Hariko and Yuki Yoshikawa. However, the destined outcome will not change as a result. Firstly, Hariko Kyoko does not like Tokugawa Ishikawa and only sees him as a good friend. Even the relationship between Jingpu Xiu and her is closer and better. Furthermore, she did have to rush to the kindergarten to pick up her younger brother, then go to the supermarket to buy discounted eggs and vegetables, and go back to cook dinner. She really didn't have time to go to any KTV. So even though Ishikawa mustered up the courage and personally came over to invite, she still found an excuse to politely refuse. Sme Marseille, you guys should go to KTV or something. I really don't like singing. Indeed, I still don't want to tell the truth. Jingpu Xiu glanced and sat in a seat by the window not far away, lowering her head. For the boy, her slightly long hair hung down, almost completely covering her face. Miyamura Ichiro, who exuded a dark aura from top to bottom, couldn't help but shake her head secretly in her heart. To be honest, he really can't understand why Hariko Kyoko is hiding. From the perspective of a boy, she goes to pick up her younger brother from school early every day and takes care of all the household chores. This kind of virtuous wife and mother's demeanor should be more popular among boys, right? However, He still quite likes the CP duo of Hori and Miyamura, so, alright, don't let Hori make things difficult. Let's go together. Xiu Jing smiled and patted Toshikawa's shoulder hard. That's it. Yoshikawa Yuki quickly spoke in agreement. Some of the bulky sleeves swayed unconsciously with their arms, giving the impression of a comical ghost that made people want to laugh. Unfortunately, what should have been laughed at didn't come out. What shouldn't have been laughed at. Yoshikawa Yuki gave Yuki Inoura a fierce glare. Why laugh? I usually don't laugh unless I can't help it. Go to hell. Fool. Eye contact complete. Yoshikawa Yuki took the initiative to change the topic and, like offering a treasure, picked up his lunchbox. He looked at Ishikawa Toshio with his eyes, but handed his chopsticks to Inoura Hideyoshi. Inside. This is the octopus sausage I made secretly myself. Do you want to try it? Jingpu Xiu looked at the hidden expectation in her eyes and rolled her eyes in frustration. It was obvious that what she really wanted to give this octopus sausage was Toshikawa Ishikawa, but she pretended it was for him because she was shy. On Ishikawa's side, due to being rejected, he was absent-minded and completely unaware of Yoshikawa Yuki's thoughts. What a slow guy he is. Jingpu Xiu couldn't help but shake his head secretly. Considering that both of them were his friends, he ultimately decided to repay his grudges with kindness and give them an assist. Don't, take it and give it to me thoroughly, Jingpu Xiu said and pushed the lunchbox directly in front of Ishikawa Toshio. This made Yoshikawa Yuki tremble all over, and he quickly lowered his head like a thief, his face burning a bit. Unfortunately, not only Hariko, who was working diligently, did not notice her abnormality. Toshikawa Ishikawa, this slow guy, couldn't get to the point at all. He glanced at the tempting octopus sausages in the lunchbox in front of him and turned his head in confusion, asking, why? Didn't you like to eat octopus sausages before? Yoshikawa's cooking looks pretty good too. How could you disappoint someone's heart? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Hurry up and socialize. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Hurry up and socialize. Whether it was Hideo Inoura or the acclaimed Yuki Yoshikawa, they couldn't help but feel a sense of defeat at this moment. What else can they do when encountering such a foolish and wooden person as Toshio Ishikawa, who is wholeheartedly devoted to Horikoko? Jingpu Xiu sighed weakly and casually made up a reason. It's not a matter of whether it tastes good or not, I just want to stay away from her, otherwise she would be hanging around in front of me all day and I wouldn't be able to find a girlfriend. As a result, as soon as these words were spoken, Tokugawa Ishikawa, who was originally absent-minded, suddenly came to his senses. Even Hariko, who was originally focused on cooking, stopped his chopsticks and raised his head. Aha! Xiu, you actually want to find a girlfriend. Didn't you say that music is your girlfriend? Yeah, right. Hariko Kyoko nodded repeatedly on the side, looking like Yoshikawa Yuki just now. Please, when did I say such a thing? Jingpu Xiu gave the two of them a silent glance and snorted coldly, even if I did say it before, can I change my mind now? Don't you know that if the flying youth lacks that pure, youthful, and sweet love, it will be incomplete? Isn't that what the lyrics of another song say? Ishikawa laughed and joked. And if you really want to find a girlfriend, why bother so much? Just date Yoshikawa directly, wouldn't it? Your relationship is so good, and your personalities are so compatible, it's like a perfect match. That's it. Hariko seemed to transform into a repeating machine, nodding excitedly, as if Inoura Hideyoshi had stumbled upon a favorite anime CP. However, as parties involved, Yuki Inoura and Yuki Yoshikawa have completely different thoughts. Me and her, him. Inoura Hideyoshi and Yoshikawa Yuki were momentarily stunned, then widened their eyes, turned their necks, and looked at each other. 1 second, 2 seconds. The next second, both of them silently turned their heads and made a look of vomiting. Which eye did you see that we have such a good relationship? I can see both of your eyes. I saw you two fighting and fussing all the way this morning. Many classmates on the way were talking, saying that you two looked like you were dating a couple. A sentence from Tokugawa Ishikawa instantly silenced Inoura Hideyoshi. At this moment it was Yoshikawa Yuki's turn to look disdainful and say, "It's impossible, I wouldn't be dating this Husky." Hideyoshi Inoura couldn't help but be hit again, and a row of black lines stood up on her forehead. "Hello, this is a personal attack, okay? What's wrong with Husky? Husky is still very cute when he doesn't demolish his house, okay? Little devil." Puff. As if an arrow had hit his heart, a large well suddenly appeared on Yuki Yoshikawa's fair forehead. "How dare you say she's a little devil? You have a way to kill this Husky." Yoshikawa Yuki pounced and directly grabbed Inoura Hideyoshi's neck. "Dead Husky. Stinky Husky. Apologize to me now." Dreaming. Hideyoshi Inoura twisted her neck and refused to apologize. Why should he apologize first, even though it was Yoshikawa Yuki who first scolded him for being Husky? "Are you apologizing or not?" "No way." "Do we have a way or not?" "No way." "Dow." "No way." Looking at the two of them, flirting, there, Ishikawa couldn't help but laugh and tease, "Look, I just said you two are really suitable. Let's get to know each other now." "What?" Yoshikawa Yuki, who was originally still in a fit of anger, suddenly froze like a basin of cold water poured on his head. Then, with a stiff neck, he turned his head and looked at Ishikawa Tsuyoshi and Hori Kyoko next to him, who were smiling at his aunt. He also looked at the ambiguous faces of his classmates in the classroom. Looking at the other classmates here, his heart couldn't help but feel cold, and he almost cried. "It's all your fault, you stupid Husky." Yoshikawa Yuki angrily punched Hideyoshi Inoura and quickly ran out of the classroom. Jingpu Xiu's side is very unjust. He clearly wanted to assist, although due to Ishikawa's slowness, there was a slight deviation, but this cannot be blamed on him, can it? Forget it, will your love be successful? This CP master won't kowtow, okay? Jingpu Xiu twisted her teeth and rubbed the hammered shoulder, feeling very unhappy in her heart. On the side, Ishikawa Toshikawa saw him still sitting there, foolishly, and couldn't help but push him, urging him, "Hurry up and chase after him." Jingpu Xiu glared at him angrily and thought to himself, "Are you still willing to let me pursue you? Isn't this all caused by you, idiot?" Unfortunately, Ishikawa Toshio clearly didn't understand his gaze. Instead, he earnestly patted his shoulder and said, "Believe me, you and Yoshikawa are really suitable. A beautiful, well-behaved and lovely girl like Yoshikawa, if you miss out, you will definitely regret it." "Yeah, Jingpu, I also think you and Yoshikawa are really suitable." Horiko Kyoko next to him also spoke up to persuade. "This harmonious singing seems to be very harmonious." Jingpu Xiu looked at the two helplessly and didn't want to say anything more. However, out of a sudden feeling of guilt towards Yoshikawa Yuki, he hesitated for a moment before taking a deep breath and explaining it seriously in the end. "I'm not compatible with Yoshikawa, and Yoshikawa doesn't like guys like me either, so please don't make any fuss. Especially you, transparent. If you keep talking nonsense, be careful that I use our Jingpu family's secret recipe to kill the man with a single blow." Arnold, Smimasai. Horikoko beside him couldn't help but raise his hand and curiously asked, "What kind of ghost is slaying a man with one blade?" Jingpu Xiu took a strong bite of the cold and deformed fried dough bread in her hand, glanced at Ishikawa with a slanted eye, like an invincible swordsman in a costume drama, and said calmly, "A while ago, there was a boy who harassed my sister. After I used a knife to kill him, he directly became fond of him. National Day." Horiko couldn't help but take a cold breath and instinctively leaned back. And Ishikawa Toshio, who was being stared at by Inoura Hideyoshi, widened his eyes in shock and instinctively tightened his second brother's grip. It seemed that he had misunderstood something. However, Inoura Hideyoshi was too lazy to explain. She finished the bread in a few bites, threw the packaging paper into the trash can, and then picked up half of the remaining cola. She waved her hand gracefully and walked out of the classroom. Instead of wasting time with these two idiots, he might as well go and write a novel. No, the classroom during lunch break is too noisy. Let's go to the club activity room and write songs. Can I have a monthly pass? Whimpering, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Unnoticed Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Unnoticed Eyes. Unlike in April, the club activity room of the light music department is located in another club activity building connected by a courtyard, which is somewhat similar to that in Light Music Girl. Unfortunately, Katsudo High School doesn't have a campus band that loves light music like HTT. Even as the head of the light music department, he usually doesn't come over during lunch breaks. But this is actually convenient for him to write songs. Actually, it's so quiet here that it's also possible to write novels, isn't it? It's just that writing novels on so many instruments feels a bit uncomfortable. Forget it, let's think about what song to write. Jingpu first took out the arranged keyboard she had stored in the cabinet, set it up, and then moved a table to the side. Perhaps it was because he was writing April Is Your Lie that he naturally thought of the song If It Could Shine. Although this song is not as popular as Red Lotus, Again, and Idol, it can break through the circle and directly reach the top of major streaming media and even physical music charts as ACG music. But it really fits perfectly with this anime and sounds really good. Especially for him who loves April so much, whenever that familiar melody plays, a deep emotion always surges in his heart. I have loved you for 10 years, but I spent an entire April weaving a lie that I don't love you, Inoura Xiu murmured to herself. Then he shook his head with a bitter smile. Although he is a passionate lover of light music and even various popular and ACG music, and can use a lot of instruments, he belongs to the category of being knowledgeable but not proficient. The original band Goose House of If It Can Bloom, although not considered a top-tier popular band, is also a second-tier professional band that has been maintained for 10 years. At his current level, it is obviously impossible for him to perfectly recreate If It Can Bloom. I need to choose a song with a relatively simple accompaniment to make. Ah. Got it. I really want to tell you. Fingertips danced on the piano keys, initially a bit awkward, but soon the melody in my mind became the same frequency as my fingers. The cheerful, sweet, and youthful melody echoes in the activity room and the empty hallway outside the door. Beside the stairs, a figure who had just escaped lightly due to breaking through Jingpu Xiu's secret couldn't help but stop. A lazy sunny afternoon, the class bell slowed down the pace, a gentle breeze caressing the cheeks, make breathing deeper. The clean and affectionate singing voice, as written in the lyrics, turned into a gentle breeze, a beam of sunshine, straight through her guitar on her back, and her thick pink coat, landing on her heart. The originally dim corridor, as if an overturned color palette, suddenly became colorful. The confession of a sunny yet shy young man and a simple, lovely and natural naive girl turned into a beautiful picture, appearing before her eyes, making her unable to help but laugh along. She has been learning guitar since junior high school, and she has heard countless live performances, including performances by top singers who have appeared at the Red and White Song Club. But she has never been so moved before. It wasn't until the last note fell, and after several seconds, that she finally regained her senses from that intoxication and emotion. Undoubtedly, I am Senior Inoura. How could I write and sing such a touching melody? The girl instinctively grabbed onto the shoulder strap of her guitar, turned around, and lightly returned to the entrance of the activity room. She leaned over, grabbed the door frame, and looked inside through the half-open crack of the door. At this point, Inoura Hideyoshi had already picked up a pencil to write and draw on paper. Occasionally, when encountering uncertain situations, he would stop writing, hum softly, play a few notes on the keyboard, or pick up the guitar to play for a moment. And the girl outside the door was so mesmerized that she secretly looked at him. She didn't wake up with Jingpu Xiu until the class bell rang from a distance in the neighboring teaching building. Ah! Damn it! Jingpu Xiu quickly got up, quickly put away the arrangement keyboard and guitar, and put them back in the cabinet. At the same time, the girl outside the door also ran away like a frightened little rabbit. Before Jingpu Xiu could leave the activity room with a half-written score, she had already run away without a trace. However, the sunny windowsill in the afternoon, as well as the young boy composing diligently in front of the arranged keyboard, were deeply imprinted in her heart like the song and melody just now. I really want to become someone like a senior. The reason why the girl longed to join the light voice section changed unconsciously. But can someone as dark and inconspicuous as me really join the light tone section? As soon as she thought of this, the girl couldn't help but sigh dejectedly. Why can't reality be simpler like the online world? Although she has over 30,000 fans online, she is still very popular. Not bad. This class is physical education. Only you can say such words without changing your expression. Ishikawa Toshio couldn't help but shake his head and sigh as he watched as he was punished for running an extra 5 laps for being late for class, but still looked like a carefree Inoura Hideo. From childhood to adulthood, he has never seen a guy with better physical strength and more vigorous energy than Jingpu Xiu. At this moment, Yuki Yoshikawa and Keiko Hori, dressed in red sportswear, happened to walk over. Ishikawa, don't you know? Husky's scientific name is Siberian sled dogs. They can run a sled in the icy and snowy Siberia for a day, and what's the penalty of running 5 laps? Ha! Faced with Yoshikawa Yuki's sarcasm, Inoura Hideyoshi simply gave her a disdainful response of the two-hater signature Wangji, and then turned his head coldly. It had already been noon, and he, who was already quite heartless, was no longer angry with Yoshikawa Yuki and didn't want to argue with him anymore. However, he really plans to stay away from Yoshikawa Yuki and Hariko, and have less contact with them in his daily life. Otherwise, he is worried about damaging their original CP, and more importantly, he also wants to find a girlfriend, okay? What if I get misunderstood and get so close to Yoshikawa Yuki and Hariko all day? He only had less than 2 years left in his high school career, and he didn't want to waste his time. Let's go, too, we're going to kick the ball, hey. Don't you need to rest a little longer? Upon hearing this, Ishikawa Toshikawa was momentarily taken aback, then secretly winked at him while caring about his body. Please. It's rare for 2 classes to have physical education classes together. He didn't take the opportunity to spend more time with the girls he liked and went to play football. I'm afraid there's a serious illness. You are a smart guy at this time. Jingpu Xiu complained crazily in his heart. At first, he didn't want to be a wingman for Ishikawa Toshio anymore, but seeing this guy pleading, he almost knelt down and called him Dad. In the end, his heart softened and he agreed. After all, this guy still owes him a week's worth of drinks. What if he goes back on his word? By the way, what did you do during your lunch break? I didn't see you when I returned to the classroom. I didn't go back to the classroom and went to the club activity room of the music department. Ah-ha. Where did you go to write a novel? No, I went to write a song. Hey. Can you still write novels, Jingpu? The topic sparked by Tokugawa Ishikawa successfully aroused Hariko's interest. Even Yoshikawa Yuki, who was still angry, showed a surprised and curious expression. His arms were habitually pressed against his chest, and his long sleeves hung down, like a small Shiba dog lifting its front paws and waiting for its owner to shake hands. Jingpu Xiu struggled not to laugh out loud, but suddenly a strange idea came to her heart. Yoshikawa is so mediocre, shouldn't he have pushed it all out by himself? What kind of eyes do you have, this guy. It's nothing. Jingpu Xiu coughed lightly twice and looked away with a guilty conscience. On the other hand, Tokugawa Ishikawa used his morning scandal as a topic of conversation and happily chatted with Hariko. Unfortunately, in the eyes of Inoue Hideyoshi, a passerby and bystander, this is completely futile. Although in terms of intimacy with Hariko, Tokugawa Ishikawa is second only to Shinichiro and him, ranking third among male students. Unfortunately, their relationship is still in the position of friends and it is unlikely to go any further. Even if Ishikawa too discovers Horikoko's secret, it is the same. In the original plot, not only did Ichiro Miyamura break through the unknown side of Hariko, but his own unknown side, which was completely opposite to what everyone knew, was also exposed in Hariko's eyes, arousing his curiosity. The two formed an intimate relationship from the beginning, sharing each other's secrets. In addition, with the continuous assistance of brother-in-law, Hori Chuangtai, the two of them became closer and closer. There is nothing unknown about this guy Ishikawa that can arouse Hariko's curiosity, and it is basically impossible to break this friendship distance. No matter how hot the conversation is now, it's completely useless. So choosing a good goal is very important. With one hand resting on the back of her head and the other holding the green tea drink previously offered by Tokugawa Ishikawa, Yuki Inoura relaxed and lazily lay on the lawn, closing her eyes. By the way, Xiu, you just said you wrote a new song. How about we go to the music department together after school and listen to Xiu's new songs? Of course, this was said to Hariko Hori. Compared to regular activities like going to KTV, Kiyoshi Hariko is undoubtedly more interested in Inoura's new songs. Unfortunately, the incident of picking up her younger brother from school cannot be changed, so Hariko Kyoko, who didn't know how to refuse at the moment, was in a difficult position. Fortunately, Jingpu Xiu took the initiative to say, "I haven't finished writing the new song yet, let's have another day." Upon hearing this, Hariko Kyoko immediately glanced gratefully at Hideo Inoura and breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. Although Ishikawa felt very frustrated upon seeing this, he still managed to muster up his energy and scratched his head with a smile, diverting the conversation. In fact, to Ishikawa's intelligence and emotional intelligence are not a problem. It's just that his whole heart is focused on Hariko Kyoko, the white swan, which ignores the ugly duckling always surrounding him. Even the ugly duckling is not ugly at all, and its personality is very lively and lovely. Unfortunately, when a person meets someone they truly like, their eyes can no longer tolerate others. Can it be her? A beautiful figure with smooth and beautiful golden hair and pure and bright purple-red pupils like gemstones, always hanging on his delicate face like a doll, with a cheerful and sweet smile, unconsciously appearing in his mind. However, he did not know that he always complained about Ishikawa. At this moment, three pairs of eyes filled with different emotions were secretly looking at him. One pair comes from the nearby teaching building, one pair comes from another stand across from the playground, and there is even one pair right next to him, but he didn't notice it at all. The situation is confusing, even the passers-by cannot avoid vulgarity. Woo-woo, asking for tickets, asking for follow-up reading, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Kadokawa Sea Dream. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Kadokawa Sea Dream. Hey, Xiu, why are you going? I'm going to work today. What about KTV? Go with Yoshikawa. Ichikawa Toshio couldn't help but see himself and Yuki Yoshikawa singing in a KTV private room, and then quickly shook his head vigorously. Although Yuki Yoshikawa, like Hideaki Inoura, rarely experiences a moment of silence when she is present, it's too strange for the two of them to go together. What if Hori misunderstands me? Why don't you go ask Kono and Xiencher? Ishikawa Toshio held the discounted coupon and found Shinichi Sho. Unfortunately, he and Sakura Kono were both busy with the work of the student union and didn't have time, so this discount coupon couldn't be used until it expired. Of course, at this point, Inoura Hideyoshi didn't know or care about the outcome of the discounted coupon. Without waiting for acquaintances to greet him along the way, he rushed out of the teaching building like a gust of wind and then out of the school gate. And it wasn't until he had already arrived at the convenience store where he was working, located in the classroom of class 1 of the year closest to the stairs on the second floor. A girl wearing a thick pink sportswear jacket and a head of soft pink long hair finally mustered up the courage, put down her backpack, and left the teaching room carrying only a guitar. Then, after more than 10 minutes, Jingpu Xiu from the convenience store had already changed into her work clothes, finished her shift with the previous staff, and started organizing the shelves. She finally managed to move to the entrance of the light music activity room and looked at the tightly closed door, dumbfounded. Ah, isn't there any club activity in the light music department today? A shadow appeared out of thin air, enveloping her whole being inside. The withered tree leaves floating from somewhere swirled and fell on her head, looking particularly desolate and funny. At the same time, Jingpu Xiu in the convenience store was absent-mindedly organizing the shelves, while frequently turning her head to look in the direction of the convenience store door and the time on her phone. Is it her? Will it really be her? The mixed emotions of nervousness, worry, and anticipation made him unconsciously start to daydream. Until a sweet voice with a hint of coquettishness suddenly sounded beside him. Hee, this beer is not tasty at all. If seniors want to drink it, I suggest choosing this one. Her slender fingers and a snow-white arm, like jade, suddenly entered Jingpu Xiu's line of sight. The purple-red nails on her fingertips pointed towards another bottled beer on the shelf. I don't know if it's shampoo, skincare products, or the fragrance that comes with the girl herself, wafting in the wind and lingering at the tip of her nose. Inoura Hideyoshi instinctively took a deep breath, his heart racing uncontrollably, and his tense emotions made him feel a bit stiff all over. Don't you know that the legal drinking age for neon lights is 20 years old? Jingpu Xiu forced herself to remain calm and turned her head, asking in reverse. It is the same exquisite face and purple-red eyes as in memory. The soft golden long hair falls smoothly on the fragrant shoulders, and the hair tips are deliberately highlighted into a gradient coral color. The originally ordinary school uniform shirt only had a second button tied to the collar, and was intentionally pulled apart slightly on both sides, revealing a sexy collarbone and a faintly visible valley. The hem of the shirt was tied with a beautiful bow, and the slender waist was tightly clenched. The originally ordinary school uniform pattern plaid skirt has also been intentionally mentioned at the thigh position, looking particularly tempting. A very standard JK spicy girl outfit. So, is this Kadokawa dream really the Kadokawa dream from Dressing Doll? If she really is a Kadokawa dream, does that mean that this world is not just Hori and Miyamura's world, but a world of manga? At least, Shui Kansha and Naoyu Suga in the Changing Dolls should exist, right? That's right, although Kadokawa Haimeng is the female lead in the Dressing Doll and a super anime otaku, he really doesn't like her other side. Her spicy girl personality, who can change clothes freely in front of unfamiliar boys. However, how beautiful. It's even more beautiful than Hori. At this moment, the distance between the two was only 40 centimeters. Despite being subjected to such a beauty blow at such a close distance, even though Inoura Xiu didn't have much thought about her, her heart, which had finally calmed down, uncontrollably pounded his chest again. At the same time, while he was scrutinizing Higashikawa Haimeng was also scrutinizing him. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Kadokawa Haimeng always feels that today's Inoura show seems a bit different from before. In the moment when the four eyes were facing each other, memories imprinted in the heart couldn't help but emerge before our eyes. Ah! Accompanied by an anxious exclamation, she finally managed to grab the limited edition ceramic figurine from her favorite Hyjiangui, which cost her a month of pocket money, spinning and falling to the ground today. It seems that in the next second, there will be a cup-shattering sound. However, at this moment, an arm suddenly extended from the side with lightning and successfully caught the dropped handle in a critical moment. Great, catch it. I was scared to death. She was almost scared out of her soul and sat on the chair behind her, frantically patting her chest. At the same time, Jingpu Xiu, who successfully rescued the figurine, looked at the figurine with a sour and full of energy, and a strange expression flashed on her face. Is this your figurine? Her cheeks couldn't help but feel a little hot. But then she took out a face-changing speed and instantly changed into a mischievous expression like a delinquent girl. She quickly stood up and grabbed the figurine from Jingpu Xiu's hand. What's wrong? I just like this kind of, emphasized, anime, can't I? Although Jingpu Xiu just helped her catch the handle that almost fell to the ground, it almost saved her life. However, 1 yard at a time, if anyone dares to complain about her favorite anime, especially her favorite Heijiang opera, she will be anxious with anyone. Not to mention being just a senior worker I just met, even a good friend is not enough. However, she, who had already done a good job in psychological construction, did not wait as expected, such as, ah, ha. You spicy girl actually likes this disgusting dead-end thing, ha ha ha, this is too different from you, such ridicule and roast. I don't think there's any problem with liking such anime. Jingpu Xiu's face showed the same expression as usual, although it was sunny, she said with a somewhat silly smile in her eyes. Hey. Really? She stared at Jingpu Xiu's eyes with some suspicion. A female high school student who enjoys watching this kind of anime with 18 prohibitions, is it normal to be ridiculed and looked down upon? After all, hobbies are something that belongs to oneself. As long as they don't harm others, it's good. And sometimes I also listen to some ACG music, such as slightly lighter than hair. There is no trace of lying in the slightly amber-colored pupils, and when it comes to favorite music, the eyes will light up with excitement. At that moment it was unclear whether it was due to gratitude, guilt, or some other reason, but her heart suddenly felt inexplicably softened. Although she has been working as an anime enthusiast for so many years, she has also met several like-minded boys who enjoy anime and cosplay. But like this, she doesn't love anime herself, nor does she have any hypocrisy to cater to. She understands her purely because of her love for music, sincere enough to be almost a silly fool. There may still be one in this world, but it's her first time encountering it. Hee hee, senior, when you smile, you look like a chai who heard the meal. I don't know what's going on, but at that time she was just acting out of her wits. Suddenly, she said something like this, directly talking to Tian about the black line of Yuki Inoura, who was trying to get a certain anime OP for her. Even though it has been so long now, she still remembers the stinky face of Inoue Hideyoshi at that time. Fortunately, Shona Inoura's heartless personality had no grudges at all, and she quickly forgot about her previous anger. Perhaps it's because Yuki Inoura already knows her secret. Since then, she has been particularly fond of the special type of anime that Hideyoshi Inoura likes. Hideyoshi Inoura doesn't watch anime very much, but she's not impatient at all. When she hears beautiful OPs and interludes, she even talks to her with her eyes lit up. Just at that time, Jingpu Xiu was just like her, who used to only love anime, with music all over her head. But now, she feels like Jingpu Xiu is different. Have you finished organizing your responsible area, senior? Can you help me organize it too? As a thank you, I can invite senior to drink later. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Confession and Retreat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Confession and Retreat. Kadokawa Haimeng suppressed the sudden nervousness in her heart, grinning and deliberately revealing a seductive look, carefully probing. Damn it. I finally know why so many people, even if they know the true face of the so-called goddess, are willing to be licking dogs. Jingpu Xiu almost had a cold war and goosebumps appeared. Just kidding. Isn't the anime world heroine like Shidwa Chuanhaming 100 times more beautiful than the so-called goddess in the third dimension? However, he just laughed like a second not really licking a dog, so even though his heart was about to jump out of his chest, he still chose to refuse. Da ba. I don't know if I'm responsible for my own work. Also, you're not yet of drinking age. Originally rejected, Yutakawa Haimeng felt a bit frustrated, but upon hearing Inoura Hideo's last sentence of care, her mood immediately improved. But I have to work 2 hard jobs, isn't it okay? Jingpu Xiu watched as the distance between the two was shortened by more than 10 centimeters, and her whole body stiffened, her heart almost bursting. Oh my goodness. Zijuachuan Haimeng is playing coquettish with me. What should I do? Should I refuse? Or should I refuse? Or should I refuse? My throat suddenly became dry for no apparent reason. Why do you still come to work at a convenience store? It seems like the salary here is not high compared to your other job, right? Kiura Hideo struggled with a swallowing motion, struggling to maintain rationality and composure despite never licking a dog, because I like Senior Yu. I don't know if it was impulsive or premeditated, but at this moment, Yutakawa Haimeng boldly posted it. Even with the large and soft gap, there was only a distance of only 10 centimeters left between the tips of their noses. The warm and sweet breath landed on Jingpu Xiu's lips, and at this moment, any rationality or calmness exploded directly with her brain. Even the heart, which had been frantically probing at the edge of a cylinder blowout, seemed to stop beating in an instant. What about licking a dog and not licking a dog? At this moment, Inoue Hideyoshi didn't go straight up and bit on her pink and smooth lips like cherry blossoms. She already had super strong willpower, okay. He feels like he should change his name to Lu Xiaohui. How about my light novel pen name being Lu Xiaohui? This sudden and eerie thought finally restored some computing power to Inoura Hideyoshi's brain, which had crashed. Seijiro Inoura resisted the huge temptation and worked hard to move away from the gaze of Kadokawa Haimeng. With a dry smile, she said, Don't joke. With this time, why don't you quickly count and organize the shelves you are responsible for? Yutakawa Haimeng is not happy now. Although it may seem well hidden on the surface, in reality, her nervousness and shyness are no less than those of Hideyoshi Inoura. My head is even about to smoke, okay. However, with extremely rich theoretical experience, she knew that the more she did this, the more she couldn't back down. So she continued to hold on and leaned her fragile pretty face back towards her, smiling and re-aligning with Jingpu Xiu's gaze. Ah. Are you angry? No, Hideyoshi Inoura thought to say. But before he could speak, Kazumi Kadokawa said again, I'm sorry, I'll tidy up the shelf I'm responsible for as soon as possible, but I wasn't joking just now. The slender eyelashes, like 2 small fans, trembled gently with the heartbeat, but the voice of Kadokawa Haimeng was never more resolute. I really like you, senior. Bang. Whether it was an arrow, a heavy hammer, or something else, in short, Inoura Hideyoshi's heart seemed to have been hit hard, and her breathing became incredibly difficult. To be honest, at this moment, he was really a bit tempted. No, it's not some, it's very exciting. Unbreakable heart. But if this world really includes a complete world of changing dolls, does it also have the 5 new dishes of the male protagonist in the original story that made Yutakawa Haimeng fall in love? Can he win over the male protagonist 5 new vegetables, who has no golden fingers and no handsome appearance that surpasses the sky, and can eat his food completely based on his face? And if it is not exactly the same as the original article? That according to his inherited and fused memories Zijuachuan Haimeng is very close to many guys who dress up like a cowherd. This sudden thought was like a basin of cold water filled with ice, pouring it down from head to toe, instantly extinguishing most of the heat in his heart. Don't joke, okay. I heard you were playing with several boys at the same time. Hideyoshi Inoura didn't know what he was feeling when he said these words, and even just as he finished speaking, he had already regretted it. However, a green hat is something he cannot accept more than licking a dog, and he will never compromise on this. Even if Kawakami was disappointed and hurt by this, he would leave and never be friends with him again. As soon as he thought of this, Jingpu Xiu's heart couldn't help but twitch. A bitter emotion made him instinctively use all his strength to clench his fist. However, the next response from Kadokawa Haimeng was not included in any of his plans. But I'm still CN. Ha! Jingpu Xiu was almost choked to death by her own saliva, and her eyes instinctively widened, just like the wise gaze of Husky at 40 degrees above zero. Zijuachuan Haimeng couldn't help but snort and burst out laughing. Then he tilted his head and playfully said, "Do seniors see me as the kind of girl who can sleep with any guy as long as I give money?" No, no. I didn't mean that. Jingpu Xiu quickly regained consciousness and waved her hand, saying, "Even in a world that is not exactly the same as the original, he doesn't think that Kazumi Kitagawa is the kind of romantic girl, at most he just has a boyfriend." Kadokawa Haimeng looked at the panic and anxiety in his eyes, as if he had taken a big bite of cream cake, feeling a sweet sensation in his heart. "I do have a few male friends, but none of them are in that kind of relationship," Kadokawa Haimeng explained with a serious expression on her face. However, soon after, she changed her voice, tiptoed on her toes, and her cherry lips pressed against Inoura Hideo's ear. "But if it's a senior, I would be happy to sleep with him." After speaking, Kadokawa Haimeng turned around and quickly ran away, like a successful little witch in a prank. On the spot, only Jingpu Xiu, whose heart was stirred up and down, looked bewildered and at a loss. So, what exactly is the situation now? Was she really confessing just now, or was she joking? If it's a confession, am I considered to have agreed? I don't understand, I really don't understand. What just happened has completely exceeded his limited theoretical knowledge, leaving him completely unaware of the situation, let alone how to handle it. However, what he didn't know was that Kadokawa Haimeng, who had run into the employee lounge, was also leaning against the door with a flushed face, feeling dizzy and unsure of what to do. Although everything she just showed seemed incredibly bold. But in reality, she eventually backed down. Or, it cannot be said to be withdrawal. Although she didn't see any disgust or disdain in Inoue Hideo's eyes just now, she also realized that Inoue Hideo actually had feelings for her, even a heart. But she also saw Inoura Xiu's entanglement and realized that Inoura Xiu was not really ready to make a decision. She didn't want to force Jingpu Xiu to agree to date her. Everything in the past cannot be changed, but she will do her best to resolve the knot in Jingpu Xiu's heart, so that Jingpu Xiu truly likes her and decides to be with her. Come on. Kadokawa Haimeng. You're the best. And there's no soy sauce. You must bless me. Kadokawa Haimeng held on to the Black River pendant on her backpack and rubbed it with a blush on her face. On the other hand, returning to the cash register, Inoura Hideyoshi still had the figure of Kadokawa Haimeng in her head. What is the relationship between Kadokawa Haimeng and those boys? Tony, the hairstyle and beauty salon teacher. Or are you a like-minded cozer friend? Does the 5 new vegetables really exist? If they do exist, Kadokawa Haimeng likes cosplay so much, but unfortunately, she is not good at making clothes. Sooner or later, she will still be related to the 5 new vegetables that are good at tailoring, right? It's so annoying. Why isn't Kadokawa Haimeng and I the same school? How about asking someone to inquire at Toyozaki High School? In fact, for Inoura Hideyoshi, those seemingly intimate cowboys and thugs who seem to have a close relationship with Kadokawa Haimeng are not much, but the most important ones are the 5 new dishes. I am already a spicy girl, and I also really like that kind of heavy-mouthed welfare anime. The interaction between Kadokawa Haimeng and 5 new vegetables in the original article is super astringent. When I used to watch anime, I naturally didn't realize there were any problems. Smile, envy the male lead, and then pass by. But now whenever he thinks of the welfare scenes in the anime, he always feels like he's been bullied. This is the knot in his heart. Unlike what Kadokawa Haimeng thought, the difficulty of resolving it is much higher. I'm so annoyed. Jingpu Xiu scratched her head hard, feeling a wave of irritability in her heart. Especially when I looked at my shiny green hair, I became even more unhappy. But just then, a cold, emotionless voice suddenly interrupted his wild thoughts. Arnold. May I ask, what size is this chubby C? Seeking recommendation, seeking follow-up reading, seeking monthly pass, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. Things in Hand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Things in Hand, Fat C. Size. Jingpu Xiu, who woke up from her wild thoughts, instinctively took a deep breath as she looked at the white chubby C with a cute brown bear pattern that appeared before her at an unknown time. Although it is true that he is a clerk in the store, is it really okay to ask him this kind of question as a boy? Ordinary girls, even if they encounter such problems, at most, they just secretly compare themselves, right? Jingpu Xiu was stunned for several seconds before finally moving her gaze to the girl in front of the cashier. Her light golden long hair, slightly shallower than that of Kawakami, hangs loosely and haphazardly on her shoulders. Upon closer inspection, she can still see some dryness and split ends. It seems that she hasn't taken care of it seriously for several days. The color in the eyes is between coffee and red, with no signs of expression or brightness, as if not waking up. The skin is very fair, and even faint blue blood vessels can be seen. Her face is very clean and beautiful, completely a beauty that is not inferior to Horiko. Most importantly, she has obvious personality traits. 3 knots. Stupid. Natural stupidity. Originally looking shocked, I thought I had encountered a harassing Jingpu Xiu. These adjectives immediately popped up in my head, and my eyes lit up. 3 no girls. And it's so beautiful. I'm afraid it also exists in the anime world, right? The anime world Seigo. Jingpu Xiu screamed in her heart while coughing lightly. She pretended to be calm and took the chubby girl's hand, looked at the label, and said, "This should be size M, corresponding to a waist circumference of 61 to 67 and a hip circumference of 85 to 93. It's not surprising that he understands so clearly, mainly because the label just says it, but the girl in front of him doesn't seem to be able to read it. 61 to 67. 85 to 93. The girl looked at the chubby C in Inoura Xiu's hand, then lowered her head to look at herself. Then, in Inoura Xiu's shocked gaze, she reached out and took off the chubby C under her skirt, placing it in his hand. "Can you help me check what size this one is?" Feeling the soft touch of a faint residual warmth on her hands, as well as the unique scent that drifted to the tip of her nose, Jingpu Xiu leaned back with a tactical move, leaving her stunned. "I'll go." Is this the 3 no girls brain circuit? I shouldn't have traveled to a world dominated by welfare fans, right? The gaze met the innocent, clean, and emotionless eyes of the young girl. Jingpu Xiu took a deep breath with great force, and worked hard to suppress the many thoughts that came out of her head, as well as the boiling blood in her body. Her fingers stiffened and she spread out her fat, making a comparison. "This should also be size M, the size is the same as this one." Jingpu Xiu, who was afraid that the girl wouldn't understand, deliberately added an extra explanation. Sure enough, the girl finally understood. "I understand." Jingpu Xiu let out a long sigh of relief. "Although I didn't even say a thank you, it's normal for a girl with 3 no's, and she's still a natural and silly type." Jingpu Xiu couldn't help but smile as she looked at the girl leaving with her chubby hands. Then, what is in my hand? Jingpu Xiu lowered her head to look at the original chubby C in her hand, her whole being dumbfounded. If what he has in his hand is the original fat C that the girl took off earlier, what did the girl just take away? Thoughts such as playing in a vacuum, not paying, and that guy probably didn't do it on purpose suddenly popped up in Inoura Hideo's mind. Wait a moment. Jingpu Xiu didn't have time to think much and quickly wanted to catch up with the three no girls. But the next second, the sound of Kadokawa Haimeng coming from behind immediately froze him and stopped him. "Ah, what did you say, senior?" Originally tidying up the shelves, Yutakawa Haimeng poked his head out and curiously looked over here. At this moment, Xiu Jingpu felt her blood rush all over her head, and her brain was like a CPU overload, once again falling into a state of shutdown, completely unable to think. "It's nothing." Instinctively, with the fastest hand speed in her life, Inoura Hideyoshi stuffed the original chubby C into her pants pocket, then withdrew her steps from the previous step, pretending nothing had happened, and returned to the back of the cashier. "I might have to leave a little early later," Kiura Hideyoshi explained with a hint of guilt, her voice trembling slightly. Fortunately, Higashikawa Haimeng may still be a bit far away and didn't hear it, just curious about why he took leave. Upon learning that Jingpu Xiu was preparing to go to a barber shop, he was immediately delighted and recommended the barber shop where he used to work as a hairstyle model. The reason why it used to be because she didn't want Jingpu Xiu to misunderstand, so as early as last month, she had already quit all her part-time jobs as a fashion model, magazine model, hairstyle model, and so on. If Jingpu Xiu went to the hair salon she recommended and found a hairstylist who has a good relationship with her, she would definitely talk about her, wouldn't she? At that time, Xiu Inoura would not be able to know that those men who seemed close to her were only colleagues she met while working part-time, and she had already distanced herself from those people by resigning. Haha. Haimeng. You are such a genius. Upon seeing Inoura Hideyoshi carefully jotting down the name and location of the barber shop, as well as the name of the hairstylist, Kadokawa Haimeng couldn't help but feel a wave of pride in her heart. However, she could not have imagined that at this moment, the mysterious figure of the young girl just now was all in Jingpu Xiu's mind. Also, how much does that chubby C cost? Steadily avoiding the gaze of Kawakami Hideyoshi, Inoura pretended to pass by and glanced at the price marked on the shelf without leaving a trace. 2,980 yen. Fortunately, it's not too expensive. Due to the fact that he had just swept through the inventory a few days ago and bought 8 newly released CDs in one go, he doesn't have much money left in his pocket now. By the way, who can tell me, will the dyeing of neon hair here be very expensive? Jingpu Xiu suddenly paused and thought of this very serious problem. He, who has never dyed his hair before, has no idea about the cost of dyeing it. Arnold. Smimasai. May I ask if teacher Tony is there? In the end, Inoura Hideyoshi had the audacity to offer a 10% discount to Tony, the teacher introduced by Kadokawa Haimeng, without becoming a member. There's no way. Who made dyeing hair so expensive? Is it 17,600 yen for a 10% discount? If only he had bought a bottle of hair dye himself and dyed it himself. But whether it's expensive or not, to be honest, Tony, who always has a blue pointed finger and looks like a sissy, has really good skills. While dyeing his hair, I also helped him trim his hairstyle. With just his simple description, he perfectly presented the effect he wanted. When it falls naturally, it is almost the same as Woodiawoo's hairstyle when he takes off his blindfold. Paired with his already handsome appearance, he looks much more pleasing to the eye than his previous head of green hair. Later, teacher Tony showed off his skills and applied hair wax to scratch twice. The original Woodiawu style hairstyle suddenly changed to that of Lu Guang, a time agent. Hiss. If I were to use the slaying man with one blade technique again now, how could my killing power be multiplied several times? Jingpu Xiu looked at herself in the mirror and couldn't help but think excitedly. To be honest, he has been somewhat handsome by himself. However, would it be too eye-catching to go to school with such a head of white hair? Inoue Xiu thought of this with some hindsight, and felt a little nervous and ashamed inexplicably. However, when he thought that this was an anime world, especially Hori and Miyako, where there were red, green, purple, yellow and all kinds of hair, he relaxed again. Isn't it just a head of white hair? When I become a popular singer, best-selling light novelist, and manga artist in the future, isn't that much more eye-catching? Let's get used to it in advance now. Jingpu Xiu looked at herself in the mirror, silently doing psychological construction. However, the next second, he suddenly felt a thump in his heart and his face changed. Damn it. Dye your hair and spend all your money. Now, let alone enrolling in the tuition for comic tutoring classes, he has already run out of lunch money for most of the month, okay? At this moment, Inoura Xiu immediately thought of her good brother, Toshikawa Ishikawa. It's just a matter of indulging in a meal or two, just indulging in it every day. You should know that Neon even has an AA system for eating and shopping with boyfriend and girlfriend here. How about borrowing some from Kiko? Then we can borrow some from Ishikawa. This way, we should be able to handle the remaining half of the month, right? As for learning comics. By the way, I can go to the art department or manga department to inquire first. If there is anyone in the school club with a higher level of expertise, I can just vote for nothing for a period of time. Haha. I'm so clever. Under the deep night sky, on the street illuminated by colorful neon lights, Jingpu Xiu couldn't help but excitedly accelerate her steps as she found a solution. At the same time, Toshikawa Ishikawa, who was lying in bed with his phone and struggling with how to chat with Kyoko Hori, and Kiko Inoura, who was doing his homework seriously in the room, suddenly sneezed for no reason. Ah-ha. Is this because Hori is also thinking of me? Ishikawa's entire mind was shaken, as if receiving some kind of signal. He immediately took out his speed of being single for 17 years and started typing. Seeking recommendation, seeking follow-up reading, seeking monthly tickets, end of this chapter.